Hi, Pisces rising sign. Here is your weekly forecast starting on the 14th of May until the 19th of May. So, welcome back to my channel. I think this is a great financial and mental rerouting this week for you. I think you are a lot more empathetic, visionary, strategic. I think for Pisces rising sign this week is about moving from what do I own to how do I think and how I can make it happen. Oh, sorry, I'm not on the Pisces rising sign. Um, Ascendant. So here you go. There's a third house focus, of course. The Sun, Mercury, Ceres, and Atlantis are all hitting your third house, the house of communication, local community, and mindset. So this is kind of like a contract day. If you have been negotiating about a contract or with your siblings or neighbors or even finalizing a digital project, the energy is grounded and this is actually super good to kind of go for it. But there is a warning sign with Atlantis. Watch for information overload or technical glitches. Don't build a digital empire on a weak server. So buy, the big storage and all those type of stuff because it could be a bit of a failure there. Of course, there is that triple conjunction between Mercury, the Sun, and Ceres. So this is a mental clarity about the type of nurturing that you want to receive, for example, or you want to be giving to others. This could actually indicate a new relationship as well, because Mercury is the ruler of your seventh house. And Ceres often pops up in relationship matters because obviously it's the representation of bond. So it's good to be talking to people because you never know who you get to know. Now, I think Cassandra entering Gemini, the fourth house, this is the truth about your home life, about your upbringing. You might see a missing piece in your family dynamic or a property situation that others are ignoring. But it doesn't have to be forced to see it yet. Maybe we just want to be documenting some of our hunches because others might not believe us. It's kind of like a bit of a lack of evidence. Mars is conjuncting Chiron in your second house, and there is a money wound that you have to be dealing with. It feels like it's quite huge for you because it also hits your self-worth as well. So this is a day to heal your relationship with money by taking some courageous action, applying for the role, raising your rates, or clear your debts. You might feel slightly bit exposed because Mars disposes Chiron, but the only way out is through action. So, what actions am I going to take to boost my confidence? What actions am I going to take to actually sort out maybe the financial situation or kind of like turmoil that potentially you are in? I think the Mercury conjuncts Uranus, it is happening in your fourth house, and makes a sextile to Venus at the same time. Sorry, one more time. So Mercury is making a conjunction to Uranus in your fourth house, while Venus and Mars are making a sextile. So this could be a sudden change, for example, in your home environment. It could be a message that you receive, for example, from a member of your family. And it could be a positive and it could be a negative message as well. So it could be also about news in regards to renting an apartment or potentially selling an apartment as well. Remember that Uranus is the great awakener, and then it meets the planet of messenger at the very base of your chart. So it's a lightning strike to your foundation, potentially the way you think about properties, the way you think about your family dynamics. So, this is the house where you live, who you are at your core, really. So it's an awakening moment that your approach to life might not be the greatest in a way. It's a sudden shift in your domestic sphere. So maybe suddenly you decide to move. It's an instant breakthrough. It's a sudden change in a different direction. So, like I said, you might receive unexpected news regarding a property, a lease, or a family member. but it's a realization that your current living situation no longer aligns with your evolving self. Maybe if you feel smothered by family expectations or ancestral baggage, this conjunction provides the mental hack to liberate yourself. Maybe you start seeing the exit strategy clearly. Maybe actually you are making kind of like upgrades in your home, like you are making it a smart home. So you buy a piece of, kitchen appliances and all those type of stuff, a bit of a digital setup in your home environment. You might wake up and realize you need to move, you get a sudden idea for maybe a home-based business as well, and that could be changing a lot of things. Now, Venus is making that sextile to Mars in your second house. So that might be something to do with real like your financial healing is happening through family members. They are giving you money, they are giving you the support, or you're ready to sell a property, for example. But also it might be that you change how you live, you change how you earn money. So don't be afraid of a sudden change in plans regarding living space or family dynamics, because this is the universe upgrading your foundation to support your earning abilities as well. Now let's just move on to the next aspect. Mercury also makes that conjunction to Cassandra, while there is that sextile to Vesta as well. So you are really dedicated to a specific truth, and maybe this is a day to sit down, write, record, research. It's a mental devotion to be able to make money. But you seem to be at a crossroad, a karmic crossroad. I mean, of course, Mercury is in your fourth house, squaring the nodes. So the South Node is in the seventh house. So you are being asked to stop micromanaging your partners, your clients, even your family members. You don't have to go for the perfect relationship. The North Node in Pisces in your first house says that the universe is pulling you towards yourself, your identity, your vision, a bit more focus on yourself. And then Mercury makes a trine to Pluto as well. So that's the detective vision to see which partnership dynamics are draining your power. Maybe it's the realization that sometimes it's better to be alone or to be secluded a little bit. Now, Mars enters your third house, and your drive shifting from fighting for money to steadily building your message. So maybe it's about you scheduling things more, or it's time to grind out the content of that paperwork. Sun enters Gemini as well on the 20th. So there's going to be a highlight on your home, roots, emotional security, potential relocation, and your family. While Venus moves into your fifth house. So this is actually very beautiful for Pisces rising sign, because Venus moves through the house of creativity, romance, and joy. It's the planetary joy placement of Venus as well. So this might be about you falling in love, enjoying what you do, enjoying creating products, for example. But it does square Vesta, right? So it's a tug of war between your creative joy and wanting to spend money, as well as a professional mission or focusing on the budgeting type of element. So Venus would like to spend money in the fifth house. It wants to indulge. I would say that trust your intuition you gained this week. The perfectionism of the past is gone. So it's time to lead with your kind of like Pisces vision, really. So, maybe you have been obsessing over other people's opinion or someone who is kind of like criticizing you. And this is about, with that Mercury Pluto, trying to realize that your identity is the only foundation you need. You don't have to be getting validation from others. Stop counting other people's flaws and maybe start building your own dream as well. That could be also actually super important. Uh, because, I'm also wondering with that nodal scare, like nodal square, that because the fourth house is also emotional security. So, with Mercury squaring the South Node in the seventh house, it might indicate that you don't get that emotional security from a partnership. And it's the realization that I can only kind of like rely on myself. Um, so with Mercury Uranus, we've got a sudden breakthrough regarding a property. We have got an aha moment. The Mercury is squaring the nodes, which is I'm gonna stop obsessing over partnership details. And then the sun enters the fourth house, so the spotlight officially moves to your private life, your personal foundation for the next 30 days. So you can see that there is a lot of focus on your internal foundation, and it's receiving an upgrade there. So keep your eyes open for news that changes where you stand, literally and figuratively speaking. Now, let me just talk a little bit about the do's and the don'ts for this week for you, Pisces, because maybe that's also very helpful. I think what you can do is how you can win this week. If you use the Sun Mercury series energy to look at your bank accounts, for example, your contracts, your routes, fixing the leaks now before the Atlantis influence causes a flood later on. Maybe this is also about you acting on your fears a little bit with Mars and Chiron conjunction. The thing you are most afraid to do is exactly what will heal your confidence. So we can send that email, we can do that scary talk, we can start a workout, we can maybe take a bit of a financial risk as well. And do document any of your ideas really with Mercury and Uranus. It could be great ideas, for example, how to sell a property and so forth. These are certain type of quantum leap insights. And I think it's all about self-reliance as well, because Mercury is squaring the nodes. I'm going to stop trying to fix other people's problems, and I'm going to be redirecting that investigative energy into my vision, into the self. And once Mars enters Taurus, maybe it's about putting your head down and do the physical work to manifest your ideas. So no more talking, really. This is more about actions. However, with Cassandra entering Gemini, don't dismiss a piece of advice or a gut feeling just because it sounds repetitive, or maybe it might be coming from an unlikely source as well. Atlantis in Taurus definitely warns you against financial hubris, so don't take on a debt or a project that relies on perfect conditions to succeed. Sometimes we have to be building for the worst case scenario as well. I think avoid the South Node in Virgo trap of micromanaging. If you spend 3 hours editing one paragraph or one spreadsheet cell, you are losing the big picture momentum of that Pluto trine and the North Node in the sign of Pisces. Mars, Chiron, Uranus energies are highly electrical this week, so they can fry your nervous system. So you might want to be spending a bit more time in nature, away from screens to prevent burnout. This is a little bit more focus on the me rather than focusing on others, because obviously the first quadrant of the chart, one, two, number three, are super packed with energies. And as Venus enters Cancer, squaring Vesta, don't let family guilt or domestic to-dos extinguish your dedication to your personal mission. You have to learn to say no as well sometimes. So don't get too pulled into drama, family drama, love drama, and all those type of stuff. So overall, you seem to be focusing on financial integrity, active healing, brilliant ideas, and inner security this week. Ask yourself the question, what can I build? What can I imagine? That's the Gemini Pisces part of our chart. And don't get stuck too much in the dirt. Don't get too stuck in other people's opinions and maybe even financial trouble, because that might be holding you back from moving on. So good luck, Pisces, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.